Hello and welcome to another edition of Jump To It for IrishRacing.com. This weekend we are going to be previewing, well, we've got 6 top tips for you from our experts. Of course, the big feature race of the weekend is the Prix de l'Arc, the Triomphe. We will be going in depth on that race to begin with before diving into our experts' tips. Now, joining me as ever is Stephen Harris from Betting Expert and Ed Quigley. Ed, I'll start with you and just give us your thoughts on the makeup of the Arc. How is it looking and how excited are you for Sunday's big showpiece?
Oh, absolutely, Joe. Love the Arc de Triomphe. One of the great weekends of not just the flat racing calendar, the racing calendar, the sporting calendar is an absolute magic stuff. How's it shaping up? Wow. As always, we always get this chit-chat about the ground and the build-up. And if you looked at the weather forecast a fortnight ago, I think some of the summer ground horses thought they might be in with a squeak here. Well, huge change in the going. I mean, it was officially good to firm in places on Monday. It's now soft at the time of recording, with up to another 12 or 14 millimetres due to hit the track by the time they start racing on the Saturday, let alone more rain forecast through to the Sunday. So there is every chance we could be looking at Foss-Lass kind of swamp ground for the Arc de Triomphe on Sunday afternoon, which of course was won last year by Torquator Tasso's back for more. So, yeah, the complexion of it in terms of underfoot conditions, I think is giving connections of a lot of protagonists a bit of a headache. The likes of Title Holder, you know, the Japanese horse, all is formed naturally on very fast ground. I mean, Luxembourg himself, Aidan O'Brien, has said, you know, the anti-post market leader, he probably wouldn't want to get it too deep, given that he's going into unknown territory stamina-wise for his first attempt at the trip. So, yeah, it's thrown a bit of a googly into the race. And, yeah, but, I mean, what are we expecting, gentlemen? Let's not fool ourselves. October, Paris, rain. Yeah, it's to be expected, isn't it? But, yeah, we're looking at a softer, heavy ground Arc. Nonetheless, 20 runners and chock full of quality.
And, Stephen, how about you for your kind of assessment so far on the Arc? Which way are you seeing it going from here?
Well, first of all, I mean, 20 runners, probably heavy ground. It's not the most punter-friendly of shapes, is it, to be a sort of player on the race? But that being said, it's a fantastic spectacle. I do agree with Ed about the front two, not just Luxembourg. They're 9-2 and 5-1 with the British bookmakers, which is around about 7-4 coupled. Now, if you're a bookmaker and you can lay 7-4 coupled the front two with 18 horses running for you on heavy ground round Paris-Longchamp, I don't think there's going to be many bookmakers ducking out of that. I think they're both a take on it. Luxembourg has never run beyond a mile 2. Now, it's almost certain he'll stay, but will he stay in heavy ground? He does idle a bit in front. He was sent off 7-2 to win the Irish Champion Stakes, and he did it in workmanlike style, but I'm not convinced he's any bargain at the price at all. And Alpinista, who's a lovely mare of Sir Mark Prescott's, she's won 9 of her 14 starts. She's proven at the trip. She's not guaranteed on really heavy ground at all. And I do wonder what she's actually achieved in terms of form, whether she's got quite a bit to find with some proven Group 1 performers. But it's a cracking race. We're going to come on to what we actually fancy in a minute, but I do think the front two in the market are pretty vulnerable.
And how about we've obviously had the draw as well. I mean, how much of a factor do you think that will play in the shape of the Arc, Stephen?
Yeah, I think it's a massive factor in a big field. I mean, 15 of the last 20 winners have been in stall 8 or less. Now, that's not quite as bad as it sounds. We don't always have a huge field. But in this instance, I mean, if you're drawn sort of, I don't know, 15 or above, the outside 5 traps, you're either going to have to burst yourself to get an early pitch out wide or swallow and duck right in and be in all the kickback and mud flying back and be miles behind. So I really, really think the really wide draws have got an awful lot to do, unless there's a complete pace collapse and you can come from miles off the pace, a bit like Torquator or Tasso did last year. I mean, he has got a monumental task from stall 18. I think that'll be too much for him to come from miles off the pace, and he hasn't really been at his best this season either. But yeah, I think the draw is a big factor. I'm not totally sure you want to be sort of 1 or 2 either, because you're either going to have to try and lead or you're going to be in behind a wall of horses as well. So I was concentrating on sort of those drawn sort of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, you know, in the middle sort of thing. get a prominent pitch, but not be buried against the rail.
All right, let's move over to Ed. I know you've got your long shot selection in the Arc. So just take us through your selection and how you've come to that conclusion.
Yeah, good point, Joe. I mean, my two versus the field for this for some time have been Vidani, who I'm worried about his stamina over this trip on this ground. So I've gone a little bit lukewarm on him, although I do think he's a class act. Let's not think he's an Eclipse winner. But I still think the forgotten horse, or perhaps the standout value here, is Westover from the Rafe Beckett team. I mean, incidentally, the Rafe Beckett team have just gone absolutely bonkers at the moment, aren't they? They fired in a treble at Salisbury on Thursday, where they had a 1-2 in the maiden with the second string beating the first string. I mean, the rocking horse from the stable is winning at the moment, and they've really just clicked at the right time. And I do think Westover, I said, is essentially he's run one bad race in his career, and that was last time out in the King George at Ascot, where he was rattling quick ground. He didn't settle, and he fell in a hole. And obviously that is a worry. But that's why you're getting a double-figure price about him, because before that, I mean, he pulverised the opposition in the Irish Derby. He was unlucky to be second at worst at Epsom behind Desert Crown in the Derby, when, of course, he made all sorts of trouble. I mean, it's open to conjecture what would have actually happened. Jockey Rob Hornby, who's reunited with Westover for this race, feels perhaps he would have won at Epsom with a clear run. But either way, I think there's no issue in regards to this horse. If you take that one run in isolation last time out, take that out of the way, he's got a pretty good CV. I mean, he ran at Pontefract in an absolute swamp a little while ago. The back end was around this time last year. The ground was really deep on that occasion, handled it fine, was just touched off on the line. So, albeit that was at a lower level, but what it did prove is he can handle conditions to a large extent. And I just think he's a little bit of a forgotten horse. He's got a nice draw. Where is he? In stall 7, stall 8, wherever he is. It's the middle to low kind of factor. And yeah, I think there's no massive excuses for him. And I said there seem to be a lot of buzz horses here, don't they? Title holder from Japan. You've got the nice Samart Prescott charismatic story with Alpinista. Obviously, Luxembourg and Brian going to have all the fans. But I don't think Westover's all that far behind them. And I do think he will actually handle the ground. So all in all, with the yard absolutely flying at the moment, I think there's worse kind of 11-1 shots I can see out there at the moment. And Stephen did make a good point off air. He may not be a buzz horse, and the Paris Mutual may take a very negative, dim view of him, and he could end up going off 3 times that if you're lucky enough to be staking your place and your bet on track in France. So all in all, I think Vidani is the real class acted. I much prefer Vidani to. I think he will actually improve for a mile and a half. I think he wasn't all that far behind Luxembourg in the Champion Stakes last time out. I don't think there's as much between them as the market lets on. I think he can get the better title holder. I don't think he'll handle the ground. And I think Vidani naturally is a classier horse than Alpinista. So I still think Vidani's got every chance. I'm just a bit worried about proper bottomless ground might run the sting out of him. But, he's an Eclipse winner. He's a proven Group 1 performer. He's probably a bit overlooked. But Westover, I do think, is the forgotten horse. So gets the nod for me, Joe.
Lovely stuff. Stephen, any thoughts for you just quickly before we kind of wrap up on the Arc about who you think is going to win?
Yeah, I mean, just to touch on what Ed said, exactly right. Paris Mutual, avoid horses like Title Holder, huge Japanese contingent going over there to back. That'll probably start favourite on the Paris Mutual, given the volume of money that's liable to be piling onto him. He's impossible to assess Title Holder, but I mean, it's a real shot in the dark. I know Japanese horses can win these sort of races, but under 10-1, I mean, it's pretty hard to get a handle on what he did win over 2 miles earlier in the season, so quite what all that form amounts to is anybody's guess, but he'll be underpriced on the Paris Mutual, as will Dettori, Toccata Tasso, bound to be a huge following. I think Luxembourg will be underpriced on the Paris Mutual. I suspect Alpinista will be probably as well. You've got to look for horses like Westover. Ed's made a really good case for, and I think if you could back it, you might find you get 33-40-1, as Ed said. He's not a name. He's ridden by Rob Hornby. He's not a well-known jockey. The stable's absolutely flying. You can forget his last run, as Ed says. He bolted. He pulled his chance away the first half a mile. Had no chance of getting home and fell out the back of the television. Freshened up since. Totally agree with that one. My other one is Onesta, who finished second behind Luxembourg in the Irish Champion Stakes, is already proven at a mile 4, has only had 7 runs, a French stable, should go on the ground no problem. open to plenty of improvements. It's got half a length to find with Luxembourg. One's 9-2, and the other's 100-6. You can only back Ernesto. I think a massive price, to be honest with you. I'd probably back Ernesto with the bookmakers rather than the Paris Mutuel in truth, because I think bound to have a big French following. But I think that's the way to go. My personal book, I'm hoping to get Luxembourg a big loser, Alpinista a medium-sized loser, have Ernesto winning a small trip to Denmark, and Ed's Westover as well, having him a good winner, and maybe one or two other of these sort of middle pins winning. If you can get a few quid on them on the Paris Mutuel, you might set yourself up with a good book.
Lovely stuff. All right, Stephen, we'll stick with you then, moving on to your long shot selection for the weekend. I see you found some value in the 151 at Ascot. Take us through your thoughts and how you came to your conclusion in that race.
Sure. I mean, these bus timetables that we now have virtually every day, the races go off 10 minutes late anyway. I mean, why on earth are we messing around with ridiculous times? I mean, they're absolutely fast. But that's for another day, Joe. Acclam Express, Nigel Tinkler Sprinter, been really hard to place so far all summer. Basically, not quite top group class company and far too high up the handicap to run in any of these top handicap sprints. But last time out of Beverley, I thought it was a big step back in the right direction. It was actually a betting expert nap that day, but could only finish third of 6, as we can see on screen on the excellent irishracing.com website, behind Judicial. And Rowan Scott was up that day, rides Acclam every single time he runs. And I just thought that Acclam Express probably needs a bit of cover, and he raced wide, a bit with the choke out for the first 3 furlongs at Beverley, and then slightly wilted in the final 100 yards up the hill. I think he'll ride Acclam Express with a lot more patience, get him buried away, bit of cover, and produce late. Ascot on good fast ground be ideal. There is a bit of rain around that. Ed was saying about Longchamp rain, Joe. There is rain forecast for Ascot. I mean, the track needs it. It's good to firm, I think, in places at the time of recording. So rain is needed. I don't think Acclam Express particularly wants a bog by any means, but good ground or good to soft ground wouldn't inconvenience. And around about 7 or 8 to 1, I think Acclam Express bound to go well.
And just looking at the rest of the card there, any kind of dangers for Acclam Express? I mean, which are the obvious ones for you?
I don't think it's not that kind of race. I mean, 'Tis Marvellous. Clive Cox has got a terrific record. A bit in and out, but has got a good strike rate at this level. Did fit slightly disappointing 7th last time, but has run well at Ascot in the past. Probably be the danger, but it's a wide open sprint. But I just think Acclam Express, we're looking at 10 to 1 on screen there. I do think that is a very fair price, with hopefully the first time visor fitted might spark him back right to his very best.
Lovely stuff. All right, let's move on to Ed's value angle for the weekend. Just take us through your thoughts and how you came to the assessment on the value angle for the weekend.
Yep, over to sunny Newmarket, Joe, for this one. It'll be Homeless Songs in the Sun Chariot 242. When I say sunny Newmarket, that's total nonsense. So Stevens touched upon the rain. I mean, it's good ground at headquarters at the time of recording on Friday morning, up to 15 millimetres of rain. The Paris Longchamp rains arriving at Newmarket here, so we could have totally different complexion of ground, which according to connections should be absolutely no problem for my selection here. Homeless Songs, who of course was excuse me, behind Saffron Beach, when a bit disappointing in 4th in the matron last time out, but I just can't get the early season form of her out of my mind. She looked an absolute world beater when she won the Guineas trial, didn't she, in scintillating fashion without having to come off the bridle. And then won the Irish 1000, just looked absolute class. I mean, Thumping Tuesday was a fair yardstick. I mean, she went past that one like she was stood still. Then there was a minor little setback. They said we were waiting for a bit of cut in the ground, and she's basically missed quite a bit of chunk of time and ran pretty flat at Leopardstown. Now, connections are saying they don't think it was the ground was a problem because they've been waiting for it. She just literally did need the run in a Group 1 against race-fit rivals who've been on the go for the summer. Well, if that is the case, I cannot get those early season performances out of my mind here, Joe. You know, she wasn't all that far behind Saffron Beach last time out. Now, if you take it on trust that she will strip fitter for that outing after 3.5 months, 4 months off the track, then she's got to come on a bundle for that. And as I say, just that Irish 1000 Guineas performance looked something right out of the ordinary. You know, I mean, she was getting quotes to to beat Baid, and I think at one point she was favourite to beat in Spiral if they were going to meet in a match. And I'm prepared to forgive that run last time out. I'm a forgiving type, Joe, as you know, and I think she could turn the tables to Saffron Beach et al. In this assignment. And the line the whole summer has been that cut in the ground is what is needed. She was very good winner on good to soft earlier in the season. It could end up quite soft here. She does have a bit of a knee action, but I think we'll see the real homeless songs here. Chris Hayes riding. And so, we're doing what well team, incidentally, are in a bit better form than they were a month or so ago as well. Gets the nod from me. I think if there's a bit of 11-4 flying around, I think that is a fair price for a classic winner.
That's it. That was going to be my next question, actually. Yeah, it is your value angle. So what kind of price would you be looking to get on at? 11-4, you think is a fair price?
Well, yeah, I mean, there was 3-1 floating around, obviously, at the when we were looking at the 72-hour kind of stage. Wait and see how this race shapes up and when the market reforms. But, crikey, if you get 11-4 now, I'd be chuffed. I wouldn't be shocked if she went off favourite, to be honest with you. I think she's just been priced wrongly. I think people were... It's like everything, isn't it, Joe? When you expect really big things, when they don't happen, it's like absolutism. The market goes totally the other way, and suddenly it's, Homeless Songs is rubbish. She was no good. She was overhyped. Well, often in racing, everything's pretty much in a middle ground, and I think the market's starting to correct itself now and starting to say, well, hang on a minute. It wasn't all that bad last time out. She'd been off the track for the whole of the summer in a Group 1. She comes on for that. Then, she's bang on the money here. So I think she could be vying for favouritism by the time the race actually starts. And so, I think she's the selection. Homeless Songs. I'm just hoping we see the filly, which trounced Tuesday earlier on in the year.
Lovely stuff. All right, well, let's move on to Stephen's value angle. Now, we've talked about this horse before, I know, in the show. Tipped it up previously when it won. So, Stephen, take us through it in the 3:36 at Ascot.
Yeah, I'm a bit like a broken record with this horse. I mean, it is actually one of those rare horses that I think the Jump to It programme has got right, really. Done us 2 turns, certainly as the betting expert value angle selection this summer. An absolute Ascot specialist. 8 runs at the track, 3 wins in the frame on nearly all the other occasions. Has only gone up £1, which I sort of didn't check this because I thought, that the handicapper isn't normally known for generosity, particularly with sort of prolific winners like this. But yeah, only £1 higher. Won't mind any rain. It was good to soft last time over course and distance. Came from well off the pace in a steadily run race. Just one of those horses that are ideal for big field handicaps. 18 runners here, absolute optimum conditions. Loves Ascot, is drawn very high, which I don't think that's going to be a bad thing. Looking at the recent record of races on the straight course at Ascot. Danny Tudhope booked. You're getting 4 places, maybe more for looking around. I think just a bomb-proof bet. I think can win again if getting any daylight. Obviously, 18-runner races. You're not talking about everything's easy. If you get your run blocked at the wrong time, it becomes extremely difficult. But 6-7 to 1, 4 places or more. I think rock solid again.
Lovely stuff. All right, well, let's move on then for the final selections of both the experts here. So, Ed, just take us through your nap of the weekend, please.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. It comes on Sunday. I promise you, Rafe Beckett isn't holding me to duress here. I should probably have my Rafe Beckett, #Rafe Beckett kind of fanzine shirt on today. But yeah, I think he's in for a big Sunday. I think Kim Ross could win the foray. I think, again... This race is kind of cutting up. We were kind of getting everything falling into place at the time of recording. But, excuse me, Kim Ross has really developed himself into a 7-furlong specialist. Really excels at that niche trip, which not many horses do. You often, you get pocketed as a sprinter or a miler. 7 furlongs is becoming his distance. And he'll have no problem at all with softer, heavy ground. He really enjoys it when the rain arrives. And just couldn't be here in any better form, it has to be said. Arrives here on a hat-trick after winning the Park Stakes last time out. I think this race will cut up to nothing. He'll handle the ground. We said at the top of the show how the yard are absolutely flying at the moment. Could be a huge Sunday in the training career of Rafe Beckett. And Kim Ross, that Group 1 has eluded him so far. Very good performer in Group 2 company. But I think with all the stars aligning in regards to the yard form, soft ground, 7-furlong trip, race cutting up, I think everything is just falling into place for Kim Ross on this occasion, and he can get his Group 1, which I think he's deserved to have really on his CV. So yeah, Kim Ross for me, I think he's going to take a lot of beating in the finale to Arc Weekend.
And again, what kind of price do you think would be fair for Kinross in this one?
Wouldn't be shocked if he went off circa even money. There's a bit of 6-4 floating around, obviously bigger at the anti-post stage, but yeah, anything odds against I think is fair with a horse with very little questions to answer in regards to the scenario of the assignment, other than he doesn't have that Group 1 win in the box. But I think this could be a substandard renewal in terms of strength and depth, put it that way. So yeah, Kinross for me, anything odds against, I'm happy with. He's nap material for the weekend, Joe.
Lovely stuff. And Stephen, just take us through your nap of the weekend, please.
Yeah, mine goes at Ascot in the 3 o'clock, a really red hot sprint. I quite like freshness at this stage of the season, Joe, and A-Ras has only run a couple of times since spring. Hasn't been seen since the Royal Meeting, 3 times in fact, beg your pardon. Hasn't been seen since the Royal Meeting in June. Previous course and distance winner, laid out for this race. I am slightly concerned. I wouldn't want too much rain easing the ground, so good ground's fine. Probably doesn't want it any softer, but 14-1 was a huge eye catcher in the Commonwealth Cup, finishing 6th. Had his run checked at the wrong time and finished with loads of running left in the tank, flying home. As I say, he's only had 7 career starts. A lot of these have been on the go all summer, might not be at their best, and I thought it was a standout price, 14-1. Back at Ascot again, conditions to suit, and more to come. Might just improve past some of these at the front of the market.
Well, that's it. I mean, just talking about the price of the horse. I mean, how often do you have a nap that's over 10-1? I mean, how well do you get on with those?
Generally on Saturdays, I'm not rushing to take short prices because the racing's extremely competitive. The prize money's high and everything's trying for its life. So try to look away from the sort of obvious horses. Now, the only negative here is, of course, you're getting 14-1. He is one of those horses I'd like to see some market confidence. I'd like him to be 10 or 12-1 tight, rather than 28-1 unfancied. Had a problem, not been seen for 3 or 4 months, and he's missed work and he isn't quite right yet. Maybe they'll campaign him for another race in a month's time. That's the difference with the exchanges. He's one of those horses I'd much sooner take 12-1 than I would sort of 30, as they're lining up at the post. But that being said, on form and everything physically being in place, he must go really well.
Okay, I think that, yeah, nice summation of your tip. Ed, just take us through your summary of your tips quickly. We've got them on screen for you now.
Yep, absolutely. My best bet of the weekend comes on Arc Sunday at Longchamp, Joe. That'd be Kinross. Everything in place there for a big run. Frankie Dettori on board. My value pick, Homeless Songs. Looked an absolute superstar at the start of the season. 1 below par effort after an absence. I think she can bounce back and win at Newmarket in Sun Chariot. And if they do get that deluge of rain, that shouldn't be a problem. And then the long shot, I think there is still double figures flying around about the Rafe Beckett trained Westover. The Irish Derby winner won't have an issue with underfoot conditions as they are. Has a nice draw, yard of flying, and as I say, still remains a little bit of a unsung hero in my view. So yeah, 3 for the weekend there, Joe. Really looking forward to it. Art Weekend is always an absolute cracker.
Great stuff. Well, best of luck for you and your tips. And Stephen, just take us through your 3, just to sum up once again. Yeah,
I'm gone for some fairly big prices. Most of them sort of at least 8-1. 151 at Ascot, Acclam Express, Nigel Tinkler Sprinter. Hopefully, this is perfect conditions here with the visor on first time. I thought ran better than the bare result at Beverley when well back last time out. Fresh, who's a sort of standing order for Jump To It followers. In the 336 at Ascot, nothing flash about Fresh, but from £1 higher with conditions to suit, won't mind any rain. Danny Tudhope weaving through late, can hopefully complete an amazing Ascot hat-trick this summer. And in the 3 o'clock at Ascot, A-Ras, fresh after just 3 runs this season, had a break, been off since June when he was a massive eye-catcher in the Commonwealth Cup. I'm hoping he's A1 and laid out for this valuable prize, and at 14-1 he can do us a turn.
Lovely, brilliant. Well, that wraps it up for today's show. Chaps, thanks a lot once again for your selections. We'll be back next week to review, first of all, how you got on, also like the fallout of the Arc and everything like that. So there's plenty to talk about, plenty more tips coming your way as well. So we'll be seeing you again next week. And also, if you do want to place a bet on any of our selections, please do remember to gamble responsibly. We'll be back soon for more from Jump To It. Thanks a lot for watching.